Hi there, welcome to the CAYACast. Today we are joined by a really special guest with a myriad of involvencies in everything that has to do with, I think, hosting, podcasting, radio, sports. So he's a KFM radio presenter, the host of the TotalSports Soccer Corner, co-host of probably the podcast with the best custom intro I've ever listened to for Football and Friends. However, I've noted that he is considering a career change to a dartboard maker, dartboards with the face of Timo Werner, as this man is also an avid Real Madrid supporter, and that's, it's par for the course for, that's sport. But everybody, please welcome Mr. Mitch Matyana.
Come on.
Welcome to the
Bring me on
show.
here, man.
Yeah.
First of all, set up, love it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Nice and cool, man.
Yeah, today is the first time using this setup because we've shifted things around, which is fun. It's nice, a little change of scenery to keep things fresh. It's a little bit nicer. Actually, I definitely prefer it as a conversational way of doing things. My neck feels much better.
Yeah.
Because with the L-shaped one, your neck just ends up stuck. That was unpleasant. So this is definitely there's a bit more space.
The nice thing is as well is like you were sitting on opposite ends.
Come on, look at this equality.
Yelling at people. After
that's
the
true.
podcast, my throat was.
That's true. And thank you for being here.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for experiencing when you said it.
Do you know what, Dave? Coming here, I was freaking out because I was like, I don't do interviews / being on the other side of the mic. So coming here, I was like, this is crazy because this is not what I'm used to. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, what do I do? What if this happens? And what if that? So yeah, this is all new to me, man.
You're here for us to, and I think that's what I really like about. I really like bringing people on who are usually on the other side of the mic or usually doing the other thing, because they've got really interesting stories that I think often if you're doing the interviewing or you're doing the hosting, you don't have that much time to get into those things yourself, which
true.
I think is really interesting.
It's the thing is we have to, I think, look, when it comes to, interviews and stuff, you always try your best to make it a conversation, but you also have to think of separating yourself from the conversation that's happening and actually get the information out of the person that you're asking the questions to. So most of the time people are like, oh, that was a nice conversation. But the objective is for you as a listener to hear what that person's points are. And for me just to be that mediator. So it's so I'm so used to that. So when people ask me for my points, I'm like, but how are you doing? Yeah. That's me all the time. It's weird.
Do you have obviously when people are coming onto radio, onto KFM, and they're promoting, often it's something that they're promoting, right? Part of the media cycle and everything. Do you have a bullet point list of things that you normally, I don't want to say need to hit, but would like to hit in those interviews?
Look, with most of those things, so we have our producers that will come on board that do most of the research, and I mean, we do our fair share, but obviously there's always an objective with every single promotion or interview and stuff, and I think that's key as well, so you can direct the conversation to a specific place. So for me, I always, the producer will come up with the script of okay, cool, maybe ask this, take it there. For me, it's that structure. How does it fit to me? Because how the producer would produce the show is kind of from their own POV. So it's for my one, how do I take these questions and make it into my own style and also just achieve the same objective at the end of the day? So I do more research. So then I just change the questions around, place it at a certain point, because I know that's the feel of the conversation where people will be at that point. And that's what I do.
Do you want you go? I'll do the next.
I was just remarking. I mean, that already puts you a class above us because we come in quite unprepared, just willing to take.
It's fine. No, but that's the cool thing though, because look, I come from the whole straight radio background of how to do things, and with the unprepared stuff, it's also amazing because there's beauty in that, because you get some genuine moments where that you weren't expecting. So sometimes, and I can say it, there are some, old school presenters or even new school presenters that have that fake laugh, but you won't know it's a fake laugh because you're so used to hearing it.
Yeah.
So you hear that laugh, you're like, oh no, they're laughing, they find it funny. Meanwhile, when you meet that person and then they genuinely laughing, you're like, what? That's two different things.
Like, that is not your radio laugh.
Exactly. So it's like when you come with this unprepared and the vibes and you catch these beautiful gems within the conversation, and then you hear the belly laugh. And as a listener, I'm like, yo, they didn't prepare that, but that was hilarious. And now I'm laughing too. I'm catching myself laughing. So that's the beauty in it.
And I think that actually segues beautifully into what my question was going to be anyways, which is you, I feel are quite unique, particularly in the radio space, in that you host a radio show, but you also do host a podcast. And so we co-host a podcast, and you do have insight into those two worlds, radio, which is one of the most traditional, it's one of the oldest media formats in human, broadcast history. And then you have podcasts which live almost exclusively digitally and are this very new, particularly in South Africa, very new market. And they do very different things. And we had Utah on one of our first, Utah Manas was one of the first episodes. Shout out to Utah. And we were chatting about like radio and podcasting and what are the differences and where do they play. And I think for me, it's always radio interviews seem to be, because it's like you're fitting it into this tight slot, and they have a very specific objective. If it's a musician, they're coming here because they have a single out and they are talking about it, and you either have the exclusive or it's a exclusive interview, but there's a very particular, and because of the nature of that, it has to be so focused that what I like about the unpreparedness of it, because it's not that we're going into this not knowing who you are and what you've done. Do you know what I mean? So we're going into it with the context, but it's going into it because I'm more interested in who you are as a person instead of who you are as the top 3 lines on your CV, which is because that's where the depth comes in. And that, as you said, that's where those real moments of belly laughs and or like people crying, like we've had people come in on the podcast and it gets emotional and you end up crying. And that's where the depth of and where I think podcasts get to fill a space of you can really get into a person and get a much better understanding of who they are beyond, like I said, like the top 3 lines of the CV. Do you think? Do you feel that when you're doing those radio interviews, you get to touch on the things that you're most interested in, or not? What's it like for you?
I think look, I think it's a blessing and a curse to be in both mediums, and especially when it comes to touching certain topics and getting the essence of the individual you're interviewing. I think the one thing that radio does help is that you remove all the rubbish. So all the other things of like talking around the bush, or you're very direct. And I think with podcasting, like sometimes that I have an issue with is that people always have this whole thing of like, you watch the big podcasts and you say, I can say whatever I want. I don't care. And that's all good and well, but delivery is so key in getting your audience. So you can have crazy numbers, right? But how many, of those people that are there are actually there for you? Because maybe you just booking like all these cool like artists and stuff, and they're there for the artists. So it's like you have to find that middle ground, and especially when it comes to asking the questions, you have to make sure that you remove all the clutter around and you be direct, and that's the cool training that radio has. And then with podcasting, obviously those beautiful moments of like just someone crying and actually sharing is more for the artist that's there, because they don't get the opportunity because of radio. They're trying to sell something at times. And now it's like, I'm selling something, but you get to know me as well. And you can create more context around what you're saying and stuff, which is great. But at the same time, there's certain things that you don't have to say. And podcast has a lot of that. Like if I'm being honest, there's so many of those things where it's like, come on, Doug, like, okay, cool. Is that where the conversation's going? Like, I really don't care.
I noticed watching your podcast, Football and Friends, in the studio, I noticed you're very much the guy that kind of like brings the topic back when people tend to wander off and comment. Then you're like, okay, no, guys, we're talking about this. Obviously not in that direct way, but you always segue back into the main topic. Another thing that I wanted to touch on, obviously, yourself being in radio, is radio voices. So like your voice right now, I mean, I don't know if you're putting it on, but it sounds very much like it's very well suited for radio. I don't know if that's just your voice or if it's just something that's been ingrained into you over a while. but like,
Or what's the combination of
yeah.
nature and nurture that goes into it?
Oh, this is this. I like this. I like this. So, like, when it comes to when I started radio, I had no idea what I was doing. And I based on everything that I listened to, and at that time, I used to listen to a lot of Good Hope. And when you listen to a lot of the big music stations, especially hip hop stations, they have this thing that they do.
Yeah.
And I was doing it so often, like on my show. So basically, I'd say,
No, I'm joking.
it will basically be like, welcome to the show. And then it will be like, welcome to the show. Yo, it's Mitch. Like, it's like, you don't talk like that, bro.
Yeah.
So it's like, as presenters, especially old school presenters, trying to get, that perfect balance of like being yourself, but also creating this character that you created on air. It's quite tough for them because a lot of people detach themselves from radio, and it's like a whole new character, a whole different person. And that happens with the radio voice. So like most of the people that you would meet, especially the older generation of presenters, they don't sound like that, bro. I'll tell you right now, bro.
I've met a few in person.
They don't. You're like, yo, why? There's no need. Yeah, bro.
Like, is this you? It sounds like a different person.
You see, where now, like, there's this new age, like, of listening all to these, like, up and coming radio presenters that are, like, so solid in what they do. They sound exactly the same, and they're pushing their personality. And now it's more like, it's about storytelling now. Because that's the one thing I get drilled on, like, especially, so we have, like, our air checks, at least, like, 2 or 3 a month.
Air check. What's an air check?
So air check is basically you listen back to your show with your manager.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So a couple of your links and stuff, and I get that. So my big thing is the storytelling. Look, it's as much as you being yourself, right? So how you tell a story to your friend will be basically, so we sat on the couch, which is fine. But at the same time, you have to remember that now you're on radio. You need to create an audio experience. So I was sitting on this lovely leather couch. It was hot.
Paint an experience.
Yeah.
Like a visual.
A boat was sweaty.
Yeah.
Like things like that. But that makes a massive difference. But it's still you though. You're just painting that picture a little bit. So that's the whole thing with radio voices, and just it's more the older guys that and plus, like, some of us who grew up on those older guys, we also pick up those traits as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Never mind. Is that a brain fart? Yeah.
It's okay, Dury. It happened. I'm going to get into my favorite radio question quickly, unless you want to jump in.
No.
with your
Go
thing.
for it,
Getting onto radio, and particularly commercial radio, switching the shift and going artists and what radio does for the music industry in particular. And I think radio plays a critical role in whatever music industry it is in. But having worked in the music industry and with musicians, getting onto radio is always, it's one of those, like, almost unattainable gold stars that is just, it's will you ever get there? You don't know. But particularly for most artists that don't either fit, whatever the biggest genres in the country are, or get, are pop songs that can get played on top 40 radio kind of stations. What do you think the responsibility of particularly the major radio stations is in trying to put on as varied a audience or a musical lineup as possible? And what do you think artists need to be doing? Is it the responsibility of radio to cater to as many genres as possible? Is it the responsibility of hosts? What role do you think radio needs to play, I think, going forward in particular in putting on more local artists? Because I think for me, it's always been, we have this massive wealth of talent musically in this country, in so many different, but musically in this country. And it's so hard for most of those people to get exposure through the radio.
I think, look, radio is an amplifier. That's the first and foremost, like, radio is just there to literally amplify the sound. And there's a lot of talents that I have seen personally. And I think you also have to remember that most stations, they have their own, sound. So it's all good and well for you to be an indie band, but you can't go to a hip hop station and be like, yo, come on, play my music. Or if you're surrounded by hip hop artists or hip hop stations, you can't be like, oh, they're not playing my music. So it's kind of like, as a musician, I think the best advice I could give is that do it on your own, man. Like I know it sounds very easy and it's a blank statement to say that, but the way social media works, like perfect example, Will, you guys had Will. I remember with Will, he posted a TikTok of him. I'll never forget him sitting in his car playing his first song. And when I heard it, I said, yo, this is a hit.
Those kids.
It's the first thing I said. I was like, this is a hit. And chances are I was more focused and dialed into my phone than at times I'll be dialed into a radio.
Yeah.
Because most of the time you're driving, stuck in traffic. Yes, you pick up certain things.
Like that's the only time you really listen to the radio.
Yeah, like I was dialed into my phone. I was on TikTok, bro. So I'm like scrolling. Cool. As soon as I heard those first couple of chords and him singing, I was like, this is a hit record. What he did so well was that he pushed it socially. And he pushed it himself. At times we have, especially not all local artists, I say most of them have this reliance on traditional media, and even other people outside of music that have the strong reliance on traditional media. Bro, we are in 2022. It's quite, you have to change your mindset. Yes, we are there to amplify as a DJ. Yo, I like listening to new music. I like it when people email me music and I hear it. I'm like, yo, that's cool. I can push that there. I can place that there. It's amazing. But at the same time, you have to rely on yourself, not traditional media. Yeah. So go to TikTok, go to Twitter, go to Instagram, because those are the platforms that's going to push it, and radio is going to amplify that, which goes back to what I said in the beginning. Because for most of us, think about your radio stations that you hear in Cape Town. Imagine how much music they get on a daily basis. Like, and then at the same time, you have to find that song, well, those songs, and fit it to your station sound. And most of the time, those don't fit. And at the same time, most stations also send out, will have their surveys, will have, their group discussions and speak to people. And most of those people, what they consume is obviously the commercial stuff overseas, the UK. So that obviously gets played into it and filtered into it. So when it comes to the local scene, a lot of, your average person does not know what's happening locally. But then you get a TikTok, you get a Will Linley, you get Amapiano, which just takes off because of social media. So it's like, I think that should be your focus. And yes, try to get into traditional media, but at the same time, do not neglect your socials.
Yeah.
That is so key, bro.
That's my only regret, because I don't know if you know this, Mitch, but I used to be in a band, right? And like moderate, local success and stuff like that. But we started gaining traction. Like we only started gaining like local support, local traction, radio plays before TikTok was a thing. And then COVID hit. And then like, I think the boom of TikTok naturally just exploded with COVID and people just being bored at home. And at that point, like, at the time, I wasn't a content creator. Well, fuck, now I am. But it's just like a counterpoint of like making those radio plays for us then when we didn't have the same leverage, as the younger entrants to the market. Yeah. But another thing I also want to add to that is also, the radio sound is each radio station has its own sound. But in doing that and in like, a radio station's got to make money somehow. Yeah. Right. And with ad plays and stuff. So my perfect example, and it's so beautifully emulated in the scene as well, is campus radio, Tux FM, right? Up north in Pretoria. That was a rock and roll station for 20 to 30 years, right? And then they switched it up. Why? Because they stopped getting like the campus radio awards and everything. And then they're like, we got to change something. Yeah. And then they changed up this studio sound and make it a little bit more widely acceptable. But then,
No, just quickly do it. It's fine. We'll take it all. Do you have water there?
Oh, can I get some water, please? Yo, we are potting. Woo! I love this.
Fuck it. Continued around.
Oh. So Tux FM, like that was a rock and roll station. Now it's moved because it required a bit of a larger appeal because listenership was dropping.
Yeah.
And you can see how that shaped the music. Like, I'll take for example just like Francois van Coke, right?
Shout out to Francois van Coke, man.
From Politica. Oh, it's just a podcast, I can swear. Fuck off Politica and
Great
Van
band.
Coke Hotel, right? He's moved into his solo stuff now, which is a little bit more widely accessible. It's a little bit more, I want to say, user friendly.
Yeah.
Because the audience and the way to get it, I don't want to say like the radio station, but that inherently has disappeared. Like rock radio is, close to non-existent nowadays. So now you can see the artists shifting their approach. And yeah, like, do you think that artists should shift their approach for that amplifier, because with all love and respect, like Will writes radio-friendly music.
Yeah.
So do you feel that artists should, not necessarily should, but shift their focus to get that wider?
Or should it be a
engaged?
consideration? Maybe
Should
not
it
like
be a
shift the focus.
consideration?
Like,
Yeah.
how much should artists be trying to have a sound that's radio
Sound
friendly?
friendly. So let's do this. Okay, to answer that, I want to ask you guys here in this room.
Yeah.
I'm like, what genres of music do you listen to?
You start with Jared and we'll work our way around.
Electronic music mostly.
Mostly electronic. Yeah, techno.
A fairly varied, but rock is like what I love listening to. Rock, jazz, some hip hop if it's good. But like rock is what I think is missing from radio that I'd like to hear more of. If
All
that's
right.
a better way of putting it.
One more question. What's that one song that people sitting in this room won't expect you to love?
Sure. Well, while we're at it, Dury, answer what are your genres so I can think about that.
Mine, Natasha Bedingfield, Unwritten. I think it's the best song
One of the
ever
most
made.
beautiful
Love
songs
that, love
of all
that.
time. Without a doubt.
Genres I like, obviously rock, alternative, like that's at its core. But like I listen to a lot. I listen to heavy metal, hip hop. I listen to like rap. Like I listen to jazz.
Yeah.
It's just like the wide array and stuff. I listen to some country, dude. Fuck it. All those people who say I listen to everything except heavy metal and country, I am that person.
Yeah, and widen your worldview. Listen to some heavy
Yeah.
metal and country. It'll do you good.
Okay, now to
Yes.
flip all of that, right?
Yes.
We heard
What's the
different
song?
genres
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
Okay, so now as a musician, you have your own flavor, you have your own thing that you do. All right. But where music is right now, it's a blend of different genres. So you need to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
We're not saying change your style
Yeah.
Yeah.
of how you do music. If you do rock music,
Yeah.
cool. 21 Savage, Post Malone, Rockstar.
Yeah.
What is that? What are some of the chords in there?
Yeah.
There's some rock chords in there. Am I
Oh,
right? Am
it's
I right?
fucking a lot
But
of.
also, pop, it could be classified
Yeah.
as a pop
Yeah.
pop song,
Yeah.
not just hip hop.
Yeah.
So it's like you need to be able to adapt, but keep your flavor. Your style is so key. But you have to be able to adapt to the market, and you will be played.
Yeah.
That's just my point of view.
Getting with the times,
So
evolving.
yeah, you can stick with rock, bro. You can scream, you can do whatever.
Yeah.
But it's how you do it,
Yeah.
where you do it,
Yeah.
how you blend it into what everyone's listening to right now.
Yeah.
And that's how things, blow up.
Yeah.
One thing I'm really stoked for is if there's a gigantic right now in America, there's a gigantic revival of pop punk, right?
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And South
Yeah.
Africa's normally 5 to 10 years behind.
Yeah.
So I'm keen for 5 to 10 years. of
2028,
pop punk
we're-
explosion in South Africa. Man.
And I mean, I think one thing that's cool is that with the internet, and I think it's something we were talking about social media and with this
Yeah.
kind of media and everything, is we're getting, I think the movement away from the overwhelming influence of traditional media and the increasing influence of digital media is that timeline's shortening, the like culture or whatever. And we're not as culturally, we were super tied to what happened. Media, it was what happened in the US would then over the next 5 to 10 years, filter through.
Yeah.
And I think we're moving away from as much US influence, which is great because fucking enough of that. And that timeline is shortening because we
Yeah.
now are using the same
lot.
mediums at the same time with
Yeah.
the same technology and the same insight. And so that I think is also, again, to back up your point on like move away from worrying about radio as much.
Exactly.
Like yes, radio can play a huge role and does play a huge role, and it's super important to acknowledge that. And if you can get there, great. But you know, like what you said is like your sound is what's the most important, and your sound is what you want to make. The music you want to make is what's going to connect to an audience, not trying to make something sound like. If you make music to your sound, there's a chance you'll never get played on radio.
Exactly.
But I am of the opinion, right, and there might be, I need to caveat this, I'm of the opinion that if you try to make music to make it on radio, and that is the goal, you are trying to make music that is radio, you know, you might land it once or twice, but that is never going to be a sustainable thing for you, because you will get, you'll get exposed. You know.
It's how it is. Like, that's the thing. Like, I've had friends who are musicians and they had like a beautiful sound, and I'm like, oh, that's amazing. And they're like, oh, but it's not for radio. And I'm like, keep your sound, but adapt.
Yeah.
When it comes to adapting, you develop new abilities. You know, like work with someone that you won't work with.
Yeah. New
Like
producer.
hear a different sound. Hear those tribal beats. Hear those electric, you know, hard bass 808s. Like listen to that and incorporate it into your thing, because that's how you stand out. That's how you become unique.
Yeah, and it's the acknowledgement. Like, what are people listening to? What are people interested in? How do you you have to cater to an audience. You know, these two successfully make money in the music industry. You have to cater to an audience. Don't completely capitulate to the most basic, lowest common denominator of what everyone listens to, because that's just going to make you, like you said, you're going to fade. No one will, you're completely indistinguishable from the next guy. There's, nothing to set you apart. But and it was something I've realized, and almost something I've realized about the way that I look at things and with audiences, like, you can't expect audiences to come to you. And it goes to also radio and traditional media at large, and sometimes attitudes within the older people in the traditional media, which is like, well, people must come to us. It's like, no, you have to be aware of where the attention is. And like, factor that into how you make decisions. Don't let it dictate what you do. Don't make shit because it sounds like what every other pop song sounds like, so you might get on. Like, no, that's transparent. People can hear through that very, very easily.
I mean, to go on your point, like, it goes to that whole old age saying, bold it and they will come. Bold it, they will come. Meet them halfway. They forget to add that. Meet them somewhere. You can build something, but meet them. Like, at the end of the day, you can build this house. If people on the other side of the highway don't know about it, you need to go there, give them flyers, meet them halfway. It's so key. That's how, you become, I wouldn't say become a success, because I'm just a random guy here talking on a podcast. But I mean, it's where you find some beautiful moments of happiness, where you can share your art, because a lot of people love to share their art. So when you meet people there, you have that opportunity to do so, man. It's a beautiful thing to get a fresh perspective. You've been doing this for so long. You've been building this thing, putting your blood, sweat, and tears. There's a certain crack that you missed completely. Now, because you're waiting for them to come, the crack is still there. When you meet them halfway, you're inviting them. They can see it and be like, yo, that you can change that. You're like, you know what? You're right. It looks even better. Like those small things make a huge difference.
Fuck, if that's not an Instagram reel, I don't know.
Yeah, no, if that's not a clip, if that's not getting, it's just like, I'm getting highlight reels today, boy.
My little, I feel like a pastor's kid here.
I'm gonna write that on the wall.
I'm ready, man. I came out swinging.
I would like to steer the ship in a different direction, and ask you, but it's a 3-part question. Well, it's 3 questions in one, right?
Yeah.
A, who is your favorite person you've interviewed on radio? B, who is the favorite person that you've interviewed on your podcast? And C, why is it Fabrizio Romano?
That's crazy. Okay, let me answer the radio one. I think the radio one is tight. So I think my very first interview that I ever did on radio was with Barry Hilton.
Wild.
Remember Barry, Uncle Barry?
What Barry Ball? Fuck.
Barry was gaan bro.
Yeah. The one thing about Barry Hilton is he gave me a chance. Everybody knows him, solid comedian, and he was big at the time. And I was just this kid who was new to radio in a community station, in a very small room. And being as big as he is, he pulled up and gave me one of the most professional interviews. And he's up there. And I think also tied in with Mikasa, like interviewing the whole Mikasa team as well, bro. Those guys, again, this was when I was in community station. Like, you wouldn't think they would come to a community station, bro. They pulled up, bro. They sang. They was so cool, man. And I'll hold that near and dear to my heart because, again, I was just a kid starting out. Had no idea what I was doing. And to have these big names walk into this building and say, we'll give you a shot, meant so much to me, bro. Like, it could have gone south. So I think those are the interviews that I really, really enjoyed and look back at it and learned a lot from. And yeah, Fabrizio, it doesn't get better. It doesn't get bigger than Fabrizio Romano.
Here we go.
I think he was also same. You see, it's same theme as the other two, the other interviews that I've mentioned. He also gave us a chance.
Yeah.
Fabrizio, the biggest sports journalist, I can say that with chest, the biggest sports journalist in the world says, oh, a little podcast from South Africa. Yeah, sure, let me do it. Like, that is when we got the confirmation for the booking, bro.
Let's
I
go.
I told the boys, I was like, gents, we got Fabrizio Sunday. They were like, you're lying. They were like, you're lying. I was like, screenshot of the email, send to them. And they were like, nah, this is fake. So we all got ready, right? And then
didn't Callan take the entire interview in his car?
Yeah, it was Liam.
Oh,
so
Liam,
Liam was like, because he had like a scheduling conflict, but he didn't want to miss it. It was like his 1 year anniversary.
Scheduling conflict.
And
Inconvenience.
It was his 1 year. Yeah. Come on, Emma. Should let him go.
Sort out some dates. Come on.
So they had like a massage, kind of couples massage thing booked.
Crazy.
And it was during the same time. I was like, yo, Liam, we only got 15 minutes with him, bro. What are you going to do? And he's like, don't worry, I'll make a plan. Cool. So I sent everyone the link to join in the Zoom. So we're sitting there and then Liam answers the Zoom and I'm like, bro, are you in your car? He's like, yo, there's nothing else I can do. She's having a massage right now. So we still
just goes,
sitting there.
I just told the money to shit. We've got to be quick.
So we sitting there, bro, still skeptical. Like, this is not gonna happen.
Is he gonna rock up? Is he gonna join the Zoom call?
That's literally. So I see, boom, he in the waiting room for Fabrizio Romano. I'm like, this is not happening. Clicked. He comes on. He's like, hello, guys. I was like, it's happening. It's like
The four of you just go quiet.
it is like, this is the biggest interview of my career.
Yeah.
Like, and it's also on my own personal platform. Like, there was just so many moments, like surreal things hitting me at once. And yeah, like also just the interview that he gave, man, and the insights that he gave. He gave us the same respect that he would give a Sky Sports, a BT, like the same energy, like solid information, like. And that's also something I respect him highly for, because again, we just a little podcast from Cape Town, South Africa, and he was like, "Yeah, let me take a chance on these guys." And I mean, he's been on twice already on the platform, so yeah, I think I think probably out of all the interviews I've done, Fabrizio is arguably my biggest and favorite. What a gent!
And I think that's also that kind of also steers the conversation into the football conversation and your passion for the sports. I mean, you're so passionate about football. You made a podcast called you and Callum, Matt, Liam. You guys made a podcast called Football and Friends. Go tell your friends, right? And consistently been putting out episodes, recording, chatting, having fun with it. You guys have been in studio a few times, and like, I'm a fan, of the podcast. And you guys know your shit, like it's 50% banter and 50% like real talk. And now with the Total Sports thing.
Shout out Total Sports.
Total Sports
Shout
Football
out
Corner.
Give a quick
Mitch
promo.
Matyana.
What's happening there? I
have to give. Oh, so Total Sports. I host a show on there, Soccer Corner, on their social media. So I chat ball like how I do on the podcast. They've been so cool, man. Because the thing is, this is the second brand that I've worked for to do like social media football chats. The first one was Goal also really, really cool guys. But, and I used to host a show on there called Fan View, which is really cool. I'll chat to fans all across Africa. And most of the time it was like Nigerian fans. Bro, they're so passionate. They are my favorite fans. They are my favorite African fans. Nigerian fans, Oh my word, bro, so wholesome and so passionate, bro.
Diehards.
They are diehards, bro. So that was a cool experience, but that obviously didn't work. And then from there, joined obviously Total Sport. And again, Total Sport had been so cool. Like they also knew as well. So they're also trying to figure out the football and stuff. So it's been cool to like work hand in hand with a brand that's growing and us, at least them giving me a little bit of creative freedom. I throw in my Harry Potter jokes for Graham Potter, which is great. And they love it. So yeah, like there's been this creative freedom but again, football and friends is my heart, man.
Yeah.
It's my soul. The funny thing is, the first time we came to record here, that was probably
First time you all were
the second time we were all together. It was literally the second time we
Crazy.
were all in person. So Callum, I didn't know him before the podcast. Liam, I kind of knew of him because he went to a rival school. And Matt, we pretty much grew up together. So we was always tight. So it was like the beauty of football kind of brought us all together.
Was it through Twitter? Or
Yeah, so I started Football and Friends, and I was just at the time. It all started off with me interviewing like fans, and then I brought Callum on for an interview, which was Real Madrid versus Liverpool during the COVID time.
Okay.
There was no fans, and the episode did well, and I was like, "This Callum guy he's pretty good." So then I brought him back for the second leg, and then it did well again. So I'm like, "Oh, we got something here."
Yeah.
And then Real Madrid eliminated Liverpool, and then it was Real Madrid Chelsea. Then I brought in my friend Matt, but then I kept Callum on just to see what would happen. And I was like, "Oh, it's still doing well.
Damn.
Something is here."
That's so sick how it grew like
Bro,
organically.
it was so organic. So
Yeah.
so for the remainder of the season, it was myself, Callum, and Matt just doing episodes. And then it was the season break. And I was like, okay, cool. What am I going to do? Then originally, Lloyd was meant to just come on as like a stand-in presenter on the show. And then we did one episode, the first episode of last season, we did it all four of us. And then the episode banged. And I was like, this is the cost. This is the team. This is all we need. So it was like, it was just little things, man. Just everyone just jumping on when they came. And like now, again, we've been consistent. Fabrizio being our biggest interview, Dean Furman, Sean Bartlett. Like there's just been some cool names that have jumped on just to chat ball. And I mean, there's been various, football platforms that have started, in South Africa and stuff. And I think for us, that consistency goes a long way, man. Consistency, even if like now we're battling load shedding. Load shedding's throwing hands at us. But we're making
'cause
it work, bro.
You're online as well.
That's the thing. So it's
Everyone
like,
in different load shedding zones.
you see, it catches us all the time. So it's like now we have to be a little bit smarter on how we do our content, when we do our content. Like, I mean, during the December period, there was like last year, there was like load shedding, and we were recording episodes at 1 a.m. Waking up early before work, recording an episode so we can make that 1 o'clock deadline. It's like, for me, seeing the passion from the boys, which has been my passion project, and seeing them come on and have the same energy for me was like, I can't let them down.
Yeah.
Like, I can't put my foot off the gas. I need to always constantly think, okay, how can we get better? And also bring my radio background into it. So help all of them, to better their craft in terms of how they speak, how they present, and how they deliver, certain things. And from there, we've had like multiple opportunities. So it's been cool.
Yeah. Point A on that. You got to rope us somehow into that Total Sports deal.
Hey, yo, Total Sports, you watching?
No, here nor there.
Total Sports, we're going to do it big.
Point B.
Why did you not end up bringing Lescott here, bro?
That was crazy. So now the thing is, like, I've been around my fair share of celebrities.
Yeah.
And the one thing, especially for him, I can imagine the hours of being in South Africa, the amount of photos, amount of press, and all of that
I
stuff.
saw a video of him standing next to the trophy, and literally everyone that came past, he had to take a photo with him.
Bro.
So I can't imagine how many fucking photos.
I
he
know
had.
how much energy that is. Like,
Damn.
it wasn't a holiday for me. It was like proper work. So at the end of the event, the Man City event, we were there. We just did like a news crossing, and then we pulled up to him. And I was looking at this guy, and I'm like, yo, this dude's exhausted.
Okay, fair.
And I'm like, I can't, like, there's nothing I can say. You
Yeah.
go home. That's what I was gonna say. I was like, yo, bro, thanks for coming. Go home, bro.
Pop on the pop back on the plane. You know?
Like, bro, like I could see it in his face that, like, yo, this dude is tired. So I spoke to the security guard, and then he was like, yeah, no, just go to him. I was like, I can't, bro. Because at the end of the day, this is a human being.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a big celebrity. Everyone loves him. I'm like, at the end you have to also put yourself in that position. And that's crazy, like the amount of hours. Smiling. But a lot of people are like, oh, but you're just smiling. You just take a photo.
Oh, saw your
That's
face
energy,
will be.
bro. You constantly exchanging energy with everyone who comes.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot out of you. So for us, we were just, because I spoke to the boys, I was like, yeah, we're not going to be able to get anything out of him. If we got him in the beginning of the tour, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But now towards the back end, I'm like,
That's fair.
nah, we just said what's up to him, and he was like cool and stuff, and then we just left it there. Like that was the whole thing. Like it was, we just wanted to respect his time, man, and his energy.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I
I didn't want to
get you.
overstep. Yeah,
Because some people don't give a shit. They'll just do anything for content. So respect
bro,
it.
with my colleagues, I see it with my colleagues, bro. Like it's, and I think that's where it came for me. Like I can see them and like how they interact with people, and like especially like towards the end of the day. And I'm like, yo, I can see you exhausted, but you're trying your best, bro. Trying to be human. You know, these people are here. Without them, you are nothing. You know, so you try your best to give that energy, but you just can't. And I see it in their faces. And I'm like, you know what? If I had to be a fan and I saw someone, like, I'm just going to take the L. If I didn't get the photo or anything, conversation, I'll take the L, man. That person's health and how they feeling is way more important than me smiling for Instagram likes. You know what I mean?
No, I get you.
So that was like my whole perspective. It was like, you know,
Fair.
it's all good.
I think that's also the thing, man. Like, and even the fact that was how you were going into that conversation. Had you had the conversation, Dory's like, Brad's whatevering the same point.
No.
I thought you were laughing at me because I made this point. But like, for someone like that, the fact that you thought like that, and whether, you know, he knows it or not, or even just going up to those kinds of people and engaging with them as a human being, as opposed to just like a prop in my photo with the trophy. You know, like they're there. You know, this is a lot of work, and they want to be appreciated as a person for what they're doing, not, you know, just, hi, oh my God, woo, photo, fuck off. Like, ask them a question. So,
It's
you know,
one of those
and
things. It's like
be
with
aware of the
celebrities.
humanness.
It's like with most celebrities, like especially, I mean, more on the soccer stars. When you were a kid and you had this dream of playing football, it was all about football. It was about being the best player, being the best person in that position, and playing at the highest level. Yes, celebrity comes with that. But as a kid or as someone who's growing up in the systems, that's something that you're not really thinking about.
Yeah.
Yes, you start like when you hit your teenage years now in the academy, you start gaining traction on Instagram. You know, you're hitting, you know, a couple of likes and you're doing crazy numbers. But the goal was always to be the best footballer, best rugby player that you can be. It was never to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
So yes, it comes with it, and I understand it. But at the same time, you have to remember, like, some of these guys, like, people can be socially awkward, you know? And sometimes, like, there could be also a language barrier. And they're just not uncomfortable. Yes, you see them on the screen and so many people shouting their names, which is great. But at the end of the day, they are human beings, and their goal was to be a professional within the sport. And celebrity just happened to come with it. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things. Like, it's like important. Like, just when you see a celebrity out, you can ask for a photo. Chances are they'll take one. But also just respect their space and their time. And if you can see, I mean, we all can read body language. If you can see the person's face that, nah, today's not the day.
You'd be surprised. Some people just can't.
Some people
it's
are
actually
fucking
insane.
idiots.
Look, sometimes you get excited. You know, you're like, yo, what are the chances of me seeing you here? Like, this is unbelievable. But just read the room. Read the room. Man.
And I think it's about how you do it as much as what you do. Like, if you're going up to someone and you're going, oh my God, you Jolie on Lescott, let me have a photo with you. Like, that's like, but if it's, oh my God, it's a musician, you know, John Bellion's my favorite musician on planet Earth, right?
Incredible musician.
The best. And I know meeting him would overwhelm me so much, but I know that I'd go up to him and go, oh my God, thank you for what your music has done for me. Can I take a photo with you? Because this means a lot to me. And look, and maybe, you know, and this is the other thing. Like, I know him as an artist because I thought, like, he's not super celebrity driven. He sometimes doesn't like, he's not every celebrity is an extrovert, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Some of them are introverts, and dealing with human beings is exhausting for them. And it's like, even, the likelihood of someone indulging your request because they feel that you really honor and acknowledge their art or their work, and you're there and you're being a fan and you want the photo because you really appreciate what it is that they do and that they love, because musicians generally, hopefully, most of them aren't doing music to become celebrities.
Yeah.
They're doing music because it's the way that they express how their heart is feeling.
Yeah.
That's what they want to be acknowledged for, not the brand that they have to build their career. They want to be acknowledged for and it goes back to the football thing. Those guys want to be, if they want to be acknowledged for anything, they want to be acknowledged for being really good footballers,
Exactly.
not you're a name, you're so and so. That's not relevant. I appreciate what you do.
You see those controversies in football as well. It's like, like Pogba and his brother.
That's crazy, man. That whole goat under that's that's crazy, man.
There's some wild shit going on.
People taking advantage of your status and everything. But regardless of that, the day I get a child, Project Mbappe starts.
Hey, come on, bro. It's standard, bro.
Let's talk about
It's
Mbappe.
standard.
Did you hear about his new deal?
The thing is, man, I've been in trouble with my relationship with Kylian is so weird, bro. I love the guy to bits. I think he's arguably going to be one of the best players to play this game. He has everything going for him. He's such a solid talent. And I think
Madrid nearly signed him twice.
Well, yeah. I on Twitter, I announced that he's coming to Madrid at least 5 times, and people bookmarked all those tweets and reminded me when he signed his new contract. Look, I think with him, it's one of those things where we don't know the guy. So it's easy for me to go and say, oh, you're so stupid, you're such an idiot, you're chasing money. Like, I don't know what his situation is.
I mean, fair. Like, I'm not blaming him in any shape or form for taking the money that he was offered.
Yeah.
Like, we wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? But it's just, my problem isn't with him specifically, but with like the direction football's going in general. Because now PSG, apparently, I don't know if it's true, the new contract's like a third of their budget or some crazy number like that.
But the thing is, you're not only signing the player, you're signing the brand, bro.
Yeah.
Because you look at now the 2 GOATs, they are slowly the one GOAT is moving mad.
Yeah.
Number 7 from United.
He is walking off the pitch
I don't
early.
even know what's going on there. But those 2 guys are slowly but surely hitting, getting out of the game.
Yeah.
So it's like, who's next now? So it's like, who's the next face?
The era's done. I think the era's done now. If you
Yeah.
look back,
It is,
the era's done.
They're out of their prime.
Yeah, I think the best example is if you look at basketball. Basketball, like football, slowly but surely becoming like basketball with the faces of the leagues and how much money is invested in those players, and that's what's happening with Kylian. Is that you remove him, right? So you think about Messi, retiring soon. Neymar, if Brazil win the World Cup, Neymar's going back to Brazil and he's never coming back to Europe. I'm telling you, he'll be like a superstar. He's never come. He's going to leave PSG if he wins the World Cup. And then you get Mbappe. If he leaves Spain, where does that leave the league in France? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of questions. So now you need to keep the face of football.
Yeah.
You'll throw, look, City. We don't know what Haaland's contract is. But it's
No
something
one's
crazy.
asking any
No
questions.
one's asking. No one knows how much that guy gets paid a week. We know what Ronaldo gets paid a week.
Yeah.
We don't know what Haaland and Mbappe get paid a week. Because those are the new faces of football.
I can't even imagine Haaland's incentives for goals. Sure.
It's the new faces of football.
And is he
to see
raking it in based on those goal-based
That's the thing.
incentives?
So it's one of those so they're investing heavily into the brand because then with Mbappe you keep Nike. With Nike football because they'll be hand in hand and they do cool things. Then you still will keep Jordan because now the biggest footballer and the biggest face of football is part of the Jordan brand. So you have all of these brands that you keep because you've invested heavily in Mbappe. So they make their money back. As much as you look at the numbers, you go, it's ridiculous. So that's why it goes into basketball. It's exactly the same. Basketball's always looking for a new face of the league. So that's why with their draft system, it's like, oh, we were number 1. How much money are we going to invest in that person? And they're like millionaires, gazillionaires by the time they reach the second year. So it's a similar shift that's happening in football. And it is, because obviously money is just ruining the sport. And I wish that money could be invested in academies and invested in academies around the world. You know, like if you're a big club, you should at least have some satellite academy in, you know, in Africa, in Australia, in South America, that's developing players and developing the football there. Because that would be great. We won't complain about the money. Like, it's one of those things, like when people talk politics or whatever, most people are fine with politicians stealing, but make sure that you're still delivering the service. If you, if there's a whole cake, right, and you just take a piece of the cake, but you give the rest of the cake to everyone else, we'll be fine. You gotta eat. Okay, cool.
It's not right, but like,
don't take the cake, don't take the baker, don't take the knife, don't take the ingredients, don't take the shop.
In South Africa, it's like, get the cake. I was about to make such a good analogy.
Make an analogy about cake.
Just in South Africa, I feel like it's not that necessarily that they take the bakery and the baker. It's just that they take their slice of the cake and leave the rest of it.
Yeah,
to
pretty
just
much
go off, and then no one. And that's the problem. I think you're right. I think people would. I don't think maybe necessarily understand, but much less likely to notice if ministers weren't all living very lavish lives while their department was going to absolute shit.
That's all it is, man. Just if you're gonna steal, cool. Look, it's bad. Yeah, we all know stealing is bad,
but people will steal.
But at the same time, don't take everything, bro. Come on, we all down bad. Don't take everything. Just give us something.
I mean, personally,
that's how I feel.
Like, talking about, you know, getting academies, you know, these massive conglomerate football club ownership structures, like getting academies into Africa. I mean, Bloemfontein is sitting right there. Nobody's using it.
Academy in Bloem. That'd be interesting. Look, I mean, the rugby there is good. You could have some good football there. You never know, bro. You can uncover gems in the weirdest of places, bro. There's some talents, bro. There's some kids somewhere.
There's some tiny Argentinian kid running around. You never know.
Yeah, no one saw that.
Find some tiny Argentinian kid from the favelas, and they're the biggest footballer in the world.
That Messi story. I think Netflix.
But that's the point.
When you release, I think that's gonna change a lot of people's perspective, because that dude's story is
insane,
like beautiful.
Yeah,
like it's one of those. Like, it's when you need American Netflix to sensationalize it. It's one of those stories where you're like, cool, yeah, that's cool. Let's get the Americans in
like
here.
that Drive to Survive.
Like that, you need that American. Bro. Americans will change the whole vibe, man.
Off the topic, but I am so excited. The same guys who are doing Drive to Survive are doing one about golf.
About golf. Hey, they're gonna cook.
I am so
a lot
excited.
of things happen in golf,
and it's like Formula One's it's a team sport, you know, massive teams. Like golf, inherently individual sport. It's you and your caddy, right? There's so many personalities, and golfers drink. So they all play. They play their 4 days, and they get pissed afterwards, and punches get thrown. I am so keen to watch that series.
I've got this video idea. Listen, if you're watching this CAYACast, don't steal my idea. We'll remember this. So, always want to do this thing where we highlight all the biggest derbies in the world. So like a whole series called Derby Day. So literally travel to, you know, South America, watch that Santos and is it River Plate?
River Plate, Boca Juniors.
Like those big derbies, like different sports. It'd be insane.
Yeah, I would watch that. I would. Yeah, and
Mitch,
you'll have fun finding the obscure ones as well.
It's your idea. It's your idea. I'll leave it in your court. Like, find funding for this thing.
We'll have to get security, man.
We'll be the. We will
for this, you have like security, because it's like one of those. Like
I've seen those like
Fenerbahce.
Fuck.
Those the Turkish leagues get insane,
bro. Turkish basketball, very random. Turkish basketball, insane. There's a flare in the center, bro.
That sounds
like
wild.
You just see like everyone's topless. I'm like, okay, everyone's topless, bro. They're busy, like the opposition team is trying to hit a free throw, and you just see flares, and they just making noise. They're just going crazy. I'm like, that's what we need to see, because there's beautiful stories in there. There's also the sad ones. Like there's a lot of loss, like life lost because of these derbies. So it's like when you start highlighting, you know, all these things and telling these stories from different perspectives of, you know, us as passionate fans who go, that's amazing. But there's someone in that town that dreads it every single year. When they look at that fixture, they go, damn.
People are gonna die.
Like, let's move out. Like, for the weekend. Like,
Shit.
it would be amazing to see those perspectives and to tell those stories of, like, the different derbies and different sports around the world. Yo, listen, this idea right here.
Total Sports.
Man. Total Sports, you want to
This is where we get involved.
get everyone.
We'll
and then
do
we
it.
just travel the world and we film all these
Yeah, we're a
derbies.
package deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, take us all, man. We'll be sick.
I mean, I think that was a very cool point, and I think it's the point of what I want us to be able to do as well. Is there's these incredible things that happen around the world, and I think what we need to be doing more is telling those stories here and talking about the incredible things that happen in this country that people don't know about enough. And it's the duality of it. It's, those derbies have incredible cultural relevance. They have so much benefit to the city for tourism, X, Y, Z, so many great things. But like you said, those derbies, people die. And so there's another side of the coin, which is equally as valid and equally as important to talk about, that is negative. And I think we need to be having the conversations about both to find solutions and push the best things forward and reduce those negative consequences. What do you think we need to be doing more of in South Africa from a kind of media perspective to push our creative industries forward? What do you think we need to be celebrating more? And what do you think we need to be dealing with as the things that get swept under the rug?
I think for me, my story is all about chances. And I always use my personal story to kind of drive that conversation in terms of what media needs to do. If one person never took a risk on me in terms of being in this media space and giving me a chance, there'll be certain stories that I miss out on and certain people that I've helped. You know what I mean? Because it's all a domino effect. And I think with industry, I think it's key to invest in those interns, invest in those new guys coming in, because they got the ear to the ground. Like there's been places where, or like media companies where I've walked in, and most of the high execs don't even know what TikTok is. But I can tell you there's an intern that's in there that's got 100K followers.
I'm going, you motherfuckers will not listen to me.
You know what I mean? Like doing crazy things. So it's about taking a chance on young people. And I get it. Like a lot of big corporates and big people are scared to do so. I completely understand why, because they're not proven. They're raw.
Because we're crazy sometimes.
We are 100% crazy. You don't know what to expect. But chances are those raw, uncut gems will come out and be beautiful and do amazing things. And that domino effect starts happening. They start blowing up. They start looking for the next person and investing in that. That's what we need to invest in. As a media, we need to invest in the young people. We need to invest in interns. Like some intern salaries are so lousy for what they do. Interns are juggling so many jobs. And you're like, but why? Like, if you really deep this intern is doing this and that and that. I'm like, yo, that's so many jobs and you're getting paid that kind of salary. Like, it's important to invest, man, and to find. That's how you tell those stories. That's how you get your media company, your ideas fresh, and your company being to the ground, because you're investing in the youth. You're investing in tomorrow. And I know that sounds so cliche and it sounds like something Oprah would say, but it's proven. I look at my own story. Like if like no one, like I have this guy, R.I.P. man, Ian Ward. I'll never forget him. He's the one guy. Without him, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be on radio. I wouldn't be podcasting. He heard my voice and saw me and said, let's do something. Let's get you in. And without him, like I wouldn't be achieving everything that I'm achieving and pushing the envelope and trying to get guys on and, investing in them. Because seeing him work and fight for me put me in a position to be like, yo, whoever I bring onto my projects or whatever, I'm going to fight for. And I'm going to be responsible for them. I'm going to invest in them. I'm going to teach them. I'm going to make sure they walk away with at least something. From my personal perspective, look, I'm not perfect. I'm still learning. I'm going to make mistakes within the industry. It's going to be decisions that I'm going to make that's not going to make sense. And maybe I might lose some money. Maybe I might gain some money. Maybe I might lose friends or lose industry contacts because of certain decisions. but I want the next person, the person I'm investing in, to learn from that. And then for them to pass on the same skills that they have learned to someone else. And even them being there, I learned something from them because they also come in with their own stories and their own set of skills. So that's what needs to happen, especially in media. Like, we need to go back and look at speak to the intern. What do you think about this place? What do you see? What could we do? Imagine like a conversation between the CEO and the intern. Like, there's such a there's so many layers in there, and people keep missing each other. Whereas if that conversation could happen, you'd be surprised what the CEO could learn and what the intern could learn. You know, you my big boss, bro. And you coming here to chat to little old me, and you want to get my input. All of a sudden, I feel more important now. All of a sudden, I feel more confident. All of a sudden, I'm investing more in my work.
100%. And I mean, that's been a common thread that we've been talking about lately, and I think it's so important. And thank you for being someone in one of those positions of influence now who can do that and is doing that. And I think the thing that makes me most excited about being in the Cape Town and in the South African creative industry at the moment is that I know more and more people, and it's younger people coming into the industry who are still at the beginning of their careers, really, but who are coming in and going, hey man, I might not know anything. And I think that's the other thing. We're generally less egotistical, a generally less whatever generation than the ones before us. It's like, hey, I might not know anything, but I remember I'm still close enough to the beginning of my career that I remember what it took to get me here. 100%, and I understand the value of trying to pull up the little guy. And I think it's, as you said, like, the little guy is the youngest people coming into the media field are the people who are the consumer. They're the closest to the ground.
Exactly.
They're the most, up at trend wise, and also, I mean, one of the things that we do whenever we bring on interns is I'm like, cool, look at our social stuff. What do you not understand about what we do? And how do we communicate that better? Yeah. Because who better is a target market to answer those questions? Yeah. Because I think we're communicating everything. Yeah. But I can't, I know we're not, but, I can't evaluate that effectively. Whereas someone who's coming in, who's interested, but doesn't, for them to, and then exactly that, is that in that conversation, I then get to have a conversation with an intern that clarifies points about what we do and how we do it and why we do things the way that we do. So they've got a much better understanding, and then they can apply their those new thoughts that come in are so valuable. Yeah. And I think we're a generation of people who are now going into those positions that can influence, who value that. But and that's so important.
I think the counter arguments, which I think someone would bring with me saying all of this, is who has the buying power? So it's like, now as media, we look at, okay, cool, who is the youth interns don't have the buying power. True. We know it's a much older generation. Okay, cool. That's fair. But if you want to keep loyal customers, where do you go? Loyalty will be in the ones that you invested in. Yeah. When they didn't have anything. And so now when they do.
And it's like immediate buying power versus future buying power, 100%. And the value of an audience. Like, yes, the buying power isn't directly in the hands of the youth, but A, buying power is getting younger and younger all the time. B, often teenagers are who drive culture and the consumption of culture. They're not spending money, but they still have a huge influence on buying power because their parents are still spending money. And so it's and that I think is often the problem, is you have execs making decisions going, oh well, the young people aren't spending the money. It's like, no, they might not be, but they're hugely influential over what money gets spent and why. And they do control what money gets spent and where. It's just not direct. It's it takes time, and it's over months or years, but the youth influence exactly where money gets spent. And it's just not direct.
That's my issue, because some people don't view that as mattering. Them convincing their parents to, if someone spends their entire pocket money on something that you created, surely that should speak volumes. Because you're telling me that person for the whole month is going to go without money because they wanted to invest in or buy this specific thing. Yeah. That should make you at least look twice and say, ooh, okay, why? We've got something here.
Yeah.
See, so yeah.
And the people spending money now aren't shaping audiences and cultures in the future. Whereas
Yeah.
your teenagers and your youth who might not be directly spending the money, but if you can connect to them and, you know, and this is a very broad, but if you can connect to them and get them on side, that long term gives you years and years of them getting increasingly growing buying power
Yeah.
over decades. You know, if you can connect to someone now, they reach their maximum buying power in like 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
But if you can have them spending a little bit more and more money all the time for those 20 to 30 years and telling all their friends about it and using the cultural influence of it, that's way more valuable
And you
long
always
term.
stay relevant.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You always stay relevant.
People, I think it's about time. We've spoken for quite a long time.
Yeah, we chopped it up on this,
We-
man. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
This was-
But
Cool.
guys, I think the last few points were really important to have been made. And yeah, firstly, I want to say shout out to Mitch.
Thank you.
guys. No, look,
Thank you so
on a
much.
serious note, man, what you guys are doing here is incredible. Like the energy from the first time I walked into here has been incredible. Like from the first day we recorded something here, I was like, this is a place where I want to be. So for all of you guys, your entire team, man, like kudos, and like I just wish strength to strength, man. Next we're gonna be a warehouse.
Oh,
You know,
Mitch.
Kyle warehouse.
Well, boy, do I have an update for you. in a
Let's
couple of
go!
It's not on the pod. It's not going to go on the pod.
I'm just saying, man. Like again, like the energy from your team. You know, sometimes I see you guys on social media and what you do, and when I'm in here, you know, everyone's friendly, everyone's nice, everyone's willing to help, and you get the sense of energy that everyone's got a goal and they know what they can see where this place is going. It's one of those things where you don't have to say anything, but everyone can see where the place is going, and we all working towards that. And that's what I get from you guys. So, man, kudos, man.
Shout out.
Thank you so
Respect
much.
to you guys, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For engagement reasons, if you stuck it out to the end, listeners over at home and viewers, comment friends.
Comment friends. Tell your friends.
in
Tell
the
your
comments,
friends, man.
and yeah, guys, this has been the CAYACast.
Wait,
Go
wait,
tell your
wait,
friends.
Make sure you check out Mitch on Instagram.
yeah.
We'll put his handle. Make sure you check out Football and Friends on Instagram. We'll put
Everything.
handle. We'll put Total Sports. I'll cue you. Don't worry, I got you. Make sure you like, comment, friends below. Share this episode. Subscribe on whatever you're listening to.
friends.
Comment, friends. Thank you so much for coming, Mitch.
Thanks,
and
man.
on that
Thanks,
note.
guys.
Oh fuck! I accidentally took screen.
And Football and Friends.
Oh, it's our intro. We've had this intro for a year. Hey, tell me which four bros do harder than me. Tell me which four bros.